Today we will look at if you are trying to start a cloud-based business, whether it is a service or if it is a product or platform as a service, then what are the things that you should be looking at. So the first and the foremost thing is you should decide about the type of business that would be supportive. If you are a serious player and if you are looking for a long-term option, then look at a private limited company. And if you are also looking to raise any money, then private limited option is the best to go ahead. Otherwise, you can even look at an LLP or unlimited types of business depending on what your needs are. To know more about what kind of company suits you best, we have covered it in another video. Please refer to that. So once the company is incorporated, then you would need couple of licenses to run your business successfully. Now, since you are a cloud-based, you don't know from where the customers will come. So if you are purely into service, then service tax would be needed, apart from certainly PAN number, which is the very basic license which is needed. So you will need service tax. If you also serve to customers globally, then you would also need something called IEC, Import Export Code. You will need other basic licenses like professional tax. You would need service shops and establishment license, and depending on your employee strength, there could be some other labor licenses like PF, ESI that you should be looking at. We have already covered all these licenses in too much detail in other videos. We highly recommend that you should look at them to know which is applicable to you and which is not. A very common question which is a trend in India is actually charging of VAT, which is a sales tax, and service tax on the software product being sold. So this has been a practice since beginning, and a lot of companies have that confusion ki what do we charge to our clients? Do we charge VAT, do we charge service tax, or do we charge both? Please note that till now Indian software industry has more been dominated by the desktop software, where you have softwares like Microsoft, Tally, or any other desktop software, where people generally sell you something over a CD or even a downloadable copy, and then give you an AMC by way of like a regular update to the software, say every quarter, monthly, or half yearly basis. So one time they sell you a license, and then they also sell you the AMC for the future period. Now, ideally, you should just charge VAT or service tax. You should not be charging both. But for some reason, this industry, software industry, has been impacted for a pending decision on this matter, where the ruling has not been clear ki whether you should be charging VAT or you should be charging service tax. So what all the manufacturers or software developers started doing it, they started collecting both VAT and service tax for the safety of their organization, so that tomorrow if the ruling comes ki no, software is eligible only for VAT, not for service tax, then you would be at soup, because you will have to settle out all your past sales VAT payments to the VAT department. So for safety reason only, people have started charging both VAT and service tax, and there is no other reasons to it. So we don't recommend you to do that, especially if you are a cloud-based company. So in cloud-based company, there is no actual tangible product. And there is one more definition which says if you are selling a customized software, then you should just be charging a service tax. It does not come under the purview of VAT. So when you are offering your services or platform as a cloud, then there are a lot of opportunities where you actually sell a custom software to each and every user who logs in. Right? For example, the logo can be changed, or there could be the names or some other settings the people can define on the fly, or you can have them defined depending on how their initial setup is. So for those reasons, we highly recommend either talk to a tax expert just to make sure that you don't sell a very standard software and you don't fall under the VAT category. But most of the time, you should be okay just using a service tax here. So that's one thing, please be aware, but it is always good to run a check with a tax expert as to whether VAT, also there is a small probability of having VAT or not. Otherwise, VAT and service tax, both you might have to charge. In most of the scenario, I would recommend ki go ahead just with a service tax registration. Now the third set of activities is you need to set up accounting and other compliances. Now being a cloud-based company, there are very different set of challenges and practices required to do your accounting and compliance as related to any other normal software company. One, because you don't know from where your customers are coming from. Secondly, you use a variety of payment channels. For example, you use PayPal, you use credit cards, you may use bank transfers. Many companies do NEFT and all. So there is inherent the transaction size could be very small, because generally cloud-based services are still much cheaper, primarily because you also offer facilities like monthly payments, yearly payments, or per usage per GB kind of thing, depending on what your offering is. But payment channels, there are multiple channels and the transaction size is very small. Now when you have especially if you are catering to the global market, and when you have multiple foreign exchange coming in as your revenue sources, then there is a huge amount of foreign exchange fluctuations that you have to take care of. So your accounting system should be capable enough to actually recognize what is foreign exchange fluctuations, whether there is a gain or loss onto it, and should be able to capture each and every transactions carefully. And then depending on what all licenses you have taken up, all other compliances, a system to file tax returns or PF returns or PT, service tax, all those things should also be in place. Now setting up a payment channel, few people offer it on the fly. For example, PayPal, you just go there and issue it. There has been some recent changes for KYC guideline, that is know your customer guideline offered by RBI. So payment channels, now PayPal requires a PAN card number associated with the account before they can set up an account, especially if you are from India. Then there are credit card companies like PayU, Times of Money, CC Avenue and all, which has a huge paperwork. So that at least takes about 4 to 6 weeks many times to set up the whole channel. So use them, and then you should have a system to bring in the transactions from there to capture at a central place, so that you know what accounting is or where your company is heading towards. Now there is also a decent amount of cross-border transaction. If you are just receiving foreign exchange, the compliance required is lower. But if you also have a business model where you also make a payment to a lot of companies outside, for example hosting charges, any other consultants that you are hiring, or if there it's a marketplace kind of a thing, so then you may also have a lot of cross-border payments to be made to these companies. Now proper taxes has to be deducted. With a very recent ruling, there has been some relief here. If any company which is just offering you hosting services, their TDS deductions may not be mandatory. We still need to review that judgment in much more detail, but that is something which has very recently come up. So proper taxes has to be deducted, and then you have to also file couple of forms with the banker before you can initiate any cross-border transaction. So these are some of the things that is required to run a cloud-based business. Apart from a great technology and a product that you have envisaged to build, you should be careful on these aspects, otherwise that could ruin your business, especially if you are planning to go bigger and grow very fast. You would also need a lot of VC money or angel money to get started or to market yourself. So in these cases, these people are very peculiar about maintaining up-to-date records, very clean accounting policies, systems in places. Otherwise it becomes really challenging for any company to raise any money. So please take care of this, and feel free to drop us an email at support@elagan for any more queries you may have, or you can also visit our website elagan.com on this regard. Thank you.